you know, it's good.
I love it.
Well, where are you located?
I am in Brunswick, Georgia, so I'm about halfway between Savannah and Jacksonville, if that means
Okay.
anything to you.
Okay. Georgia is where they're filming all the films anymore. That's a big place for Hollywood.
So true. And I'm on the coast, and so I was just watching The Color Purple, and they shot that down here, and we had a
Wow.
couple of Marvel movies, like Black Panther was shot down here. So we have had some movies down here lately.
My stepdaughter has some friends that are from Atlanta and they came up and they're young and one of the kids is working on the set of what is it? Um, Maybe an exorcism remake or something, but he was showing us pictures. So I mean
Yeah.
there's things popping up all over the place down there and it's a good thing. So
The
but I'm
tax
coming.
breaks are good.
What's that?
They have good tax breaks for the
Oh,
movie industry.
ex
That's why
ex
they're doing
exactly. Well, I'm in Kansas City, Missouri,
it. Okay.
and I know that when I was a kid, I grew up in a suburb north of Kansas City proper in Liberty. They were filming a Stephen King movie called Sometimes They Come Back, and that was a big deal. Tim Matheson from Animal House was in it, and we got to watch him film it, and there was a parade, and it was a bad movie. Like for Stephen King, it was like, why couldn't we have a good movie? But anyway, it was so I think they get some decent tax breaks here because we have Kansas City and Lawrence, and sometimes they really converge here and do the same thing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a good thing. Well, hey, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
You bet. I want to begin our conversation looking at the calendar right now. 4 years ago, the world stopped on a dime. We were really getting a handle on the pandemic in April. How did you survive that time period, and how has it changed you?
Yeah, it's funny. That's been on my mind because I have the Time Hop app where it shows you what you were doing, in previous years. And every time anything from the pandemic pops up, it just makes me go, wow, we survived that. What were we doing?
Uh-huh.
Um, Professionally, I wouldn't be here talking with you without the pandemic,
Yeah.
because it was actually because of the world stopping and things happening that I actually left higher education and went out on my own and started my own business. So I officially started my business in June of 2020. So it is kind of interesting that that was, a positive outcome of it. Obviously, there was a lot of horrible things that were going on and a lot of people struggling and losing loved ones. Personally, I struggled a lot with how it was being handled, even within my professional life at the time, but as a country and everything that was going on. But I really did enjoy that time with my family. Looking back at those pictures that show up on Time Hop, we were spending a lot of time outside. We were spending time together. We were really thinking about what actually matters to us and, not knowing what was coming next. How could we actually focus on what we had and what we were grateful for and the things that we could really put some positive spin on.
Yeah, I moved into a house in January 2020 and it was a pretty bustling community and everything stopped, but there were people out all the time. There was something elegant about that that's gone
Yeah.
away. So let me get to the when I look on paper, I see your titles, I see what you're doing, and it
Mhm.
makes sense to me. But I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day, and one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
All right. Well, I've got a second grader and a fifth grader.
There you
So
go.
I'm right in the middle of that right now. So if I was talking to third graders, I would tell them that I help people play together nicely, right? I help people communicate. I help them have conflict in better ways, and how to have those conversations in a way where we really kind of understand where other people are coming from. And I like to say that we're flipping the golden rule on its head, which I think speaks to third graders because my son won the Golden Rule Award in school. So that's still something that they're teaching. But the golden rule is to treat other people the way you want to be treated, right? And when I'm working with teams or companies, I tell them that I want them to think about how they can treat other people the way they want to be treated. So, how can you actually think about that person that you're working with? How can you approach them in a way that they will receive and that they will appreciate instead of only, projecting what you want onto them? So that would be my shtick for the third graders.
So, Enneagram, when you say that, it's probably going to confuse the kids, but it's basically a personality test.
It is, but it's all about your motivations. So it goes a little deeper than some of those other tools out there, because it's all about why you do what you do. And I think that if we can understand that about ourselves, but if we can also understand that about other people, then we have a little bit more grace and patience with them. Instead of being like, God, why did Joe do that? Why is Joe showing up like that? That's not the way I would do it.
Yeah.
We're taking ourselves out of it and we're really thinking about what motivates Joe. So how can I understand where he's coming from?
So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
I always wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
But then I was like, okay, I don't want to do elementary school because I don't want to tie shoes and wipe noses. And then I didn't want to teach middle school because who does? Like, I always say, it takes a special person to teach middle school. And then I didn't really want to teach high school because they have a lot of attitude and they're smelly, And so I ended up in higher education.
Yeah.
So I was working with college students and I was still teaching, really, but I didn't get a teaching certification. I was working with, pseudo adults and really kind of helping them grow in their leadership development and learn about themselves while they were in college.
So talk to me a little bit about your childhood and how you got to this point, because you're not being a teacher, helping people get to a better place in their lives. That's giving a lot of yourself. What were the seeds that were planted that made you who you are today?
Yeah. I grew up in Oklahoma, so Midwest,
Yeah.
kind of close to you.
Oh yeah, you're in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and I grew up performing. So I sang, I did musical theater, I love to be on stage. My dad was a performer. So I do think that some of those seeds planted that, I do keynote speaking now. I can easily get up in front of hundreds or thousands and be really comfortable on that stage. But I also was the youngest kid and I was always kind of being dragged around everywhere and made to do things that I didn't want to do. And my parents say that I just woke up one day when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I was like, "I'm not putting up with this anymore. Like, I'm taking charge of my life." And so I kind of became more of a outspoken, extroverted, kind of challenge the status quo type of person. And I think that that's something that I still really bring to what I'm doing now because I'm going into these businesses and kind of challenging the status quo and telling them that it can be better. We can change the culture. We can up your retention if people want to stick around in this space. And so I think that those two things from my childhood probably really drive me in what I'm doing now.
So who's been a hero for you?
Ooh, a hero. I mean, definitely my parents. I gotta say that, right?
Yeah.
They shaped who I am. Another hero professionally, probably Brene Brown. She's, I love her. She doesn't take any crap. She tells it like it is, but she's also doing some really important work that's changing people's lives and really helping people to kind of own their stuff, right?
So you may have already just answered my next question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. If you can be one person alive on the planet that you find inspirational, who would that be?
I mean, I would love to meet Brene Brown and just pick her brain. Um, yeah, it
Okay.
would probably be her.
So what is your motivation every day to wake up to not only help people, but to also evolve as a human being? What is that motivation for you?
I'm always motivated by challenging myself, being really intentional in my growth. So I'm always kind of doing things that make me stretch outside my comfort zone. Like I've recently taken up journaling and meditation and yoga. Like I'm trying to kind of center myself more. I'm really motivated by practicing what I preach. Sometimes I'll say, do as I say, not as I do, but I have to like get into that mindset of really doing the things that are going to keep me driven every day.
So of all of the clients that you've helped, of all the people that you've helped, what's one of your favorite client success stories?
Mm. I actually have a local nonprofit organization that I've worked with almost the full 4 years that I've been doing this. And I am brought in on their hiring decisions, and I'm brought in when there are challenges, but also, in times of celebration. And I've really seen this small nonprofit grow from essentially one person to now a staff of 6. And, that's a huge exponential growth in that amount of time. And it has really just been rewarding to come alongside them and kind of hold their hands throughout this journey and use this tool to help ingrain in their culture and help them to understand each other better and grow together. And they're in the foster community field. And so it's really just rewarding to see the amazing work that they're doing also.
So if you had a dream tonight, you ran into the 18-year-old version of you, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained in your life so far, what advice would you impart on that young version of you?
You are not too much. I was told a lot growing up, and I'm an Enneagram 8. So if anybody listening knows the Enneagram, I got that message that I was too much. I was too loud. I was too big. I was too whatever. And that was a message that I had kind of started to internalize when I was that age. And now I think I'm like reclaiming that, right? Like I am too much, and it's great. It's okay to be just the amount that I am. But that also, it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
Like, I am fiercely independent, and so I would definitely tell that 18-year-old self that it's okay to have those people around you that can help you, that can challenge you, that can come alongside you in this life, because we all need each other, right? We need that interdependence, and definitely through being a business owner, I have learned that it's okay to reach out to my network, and it's okay to have these people that support me and cheerlead for me, and that's actually a really beautiful thing.
So of all of the things that you've done so far in your life, what are you the proudest of?
I should say my kids.
Right?
They are precious, I do. But then also my businesses, I am definitely professionally proud that I did this. I never wanted to be a business owner. I wasn't a business major. I was a psychology major. But then, I've done this for 4 years, and then about 2 years ago, I also started a business with my husband. He's a nurse practitioner. And so he started his own primary care practice. And that was a whole new genre and a whole new learning curve for me. But it really is almost like your children when you have these businesses as well, because it's really hard. I'm not going to say that it's not. But it also allows you a certain freedom and definitely fills me with pride.
So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Mm. I think I'm funny. I laugh at myself more than other people probably laugh at me. But I would hope that people would highlight that. I know, strong and empowering and challenging would probably come up in those conversations. And that's definitely true. But there is also a side of me that I want to have fun while we're doing it. I want to laugh while we're having the hard conversations. I want to challenge you, but I want it to be because we have mutual respect and trust for each other. And so I think that that is the most important thing for me that I would say about myself, and I would hope somebody else would say too.
So we get off this call, time machine pulls up in front of your house. You can either go back in time and see one moment in history with your own eyes, or even go into the future and see something. Where are you going?
I would go into the future and see myself on Broadway.
There you go. I like that. That's a great answer. It's one of my favorite ones. I
I'm
love
gonna
it.
make that happen. We'll see. Once
Yeah,
the kids are grown and we'll move on from there. But that was definitely a dream of mine, and I think that that would be really cool.
that would be cool. So if anyone wants to hire you, learn more about you, reach out, any of the good business, where do they go?
So I'm Expand Coaching and Consulting. So you can go to expandcoachingandconsulting.com. You can find me on Instagram at Enneagram to Expand. But I'm just out here helping people to, understand themselves and others in a more meaningful way while having fun, like I said.
I
So
love it. I love it. Libby Cole, this has been great. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your story. Best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you. Take care.